Hi, I'm Mason, 24. And the last thing I ever got from my parents was a $50 Shell gas station gift card and a wink. That same week, they wired my older sister Savannah $25,000 for her dream wedding in Napa Valley. I didn't even know they had that kind of money saved up. But suddenly, they were sponsoring engraved crystal flutes and gold-trimmed invites for a man Savannah had been dating for less than a year. Meanwhile, I got a rectangle of plastic in an envelope that still had the price tag on it. I wish I was making that up. I should have seen it coming. Savannah's always been the golden child. She sneezed and they bought her silk tissues. I once had strep throat for 3 days before they remembered to take me to urgent care. Growing up, my birthdays were backyard burgers and a cake from the clearance section. Hers? She got a pony. Not a party theme. A literal pony. When I came out as gay at 19, they didn't yell, cry, or disown me. They just went very, very quiet. Like I'd flipped off the lights in a room I didn't belong in. Suddenly, I was so busy lately. They forgot to call. My mom started sending group texts that never included me. My dad told me he didn't really get all that stuff, but hoped I was doing okay. That's it. That was the grand support. A shrug and a side eye. So when the wedding buzz started, I didn't expect much. I even helped Savannah pick her dress. Sat in a white velvet chair while she twirled and gushed about lace and peonies, and I told her she looked like a fairy tale. I meant it. I'm not bitter like that. I was proud of her. But when the wedding fund came up at dinner, and I mean casually, like they were talking about buying groceries, my stomach flipped. We've saved up for this, my mom said, swirling her wine. We just want it to be special. And then, 2 nights later, an envelope slid under my bedroom door. Inside was a gas station gift card. No note. Just that. Not even for groceries. Not even a Target card. Just $50 to fill up my tank and I guess shut up. I didn't cry. I just packed. That night I filled my tank, irony noted, and drove to an apartment I'd toured once and couldn't really afford. I signed the lease online from my car in a CVS parking lot, paid first and last month with the only credit card they didn't co-sign, and moved in without a word. I didn't leave a note. Didn't slam a door. Didn't even turn off my location. Let them figure it out. The apartment was awful. Let's just start there. Peeling linoleum, one window that looked directly into a brick wall, and water pressure that felt like being spit on by a dehydrated hamster. But it was mine. I slept on a pile of blankets for the first week because I didn't have a mattress. Ate dry cereal out of a coffee mug. Used my hoodie as a pillow. Still better than feeling like a placeholder in my own family. Savannah called on day 3. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail that started cheerful. Hey! So Mom said you moved? Then shifted into that sweet venom she's mastered since we were teens. Anyway, it's your life. Just don't make it about you during my wedding, okay? I played it 3 times just to make sure I'd heard it right. Then I deleted it. I didn't tell anyone where I was until week 2, when my best friend Jordan finally tracked me down using nothing but an old pizza receipt and pure witchcraft. He showed up at my door with a mattress tied to the roof of his car and said, I swear to God if you make me carry this alone I'm gonna cry and then sue. I laughed for the first time in weeks. By week 4, I turned the tiny closet into a workspace. I had this side hustle, freelance design stuff for indie musicians, local bakeries, the occasional Etsy queen with a dream. It didn't pay much, but it kept me afloat. And more importantly, it felt like me. Not the version of me my parents tolerated when Savannah wasn't talking. The real version. Queer, weird, sarcastic, and borderline allergic to group texts. The real turning point came in month 2. I landed a contract with a small music label, nothing big, but enough for consistent work. The guy who hired me, Wes, said, You've got style. Like, honest style. I see a lot of tryhards. You're not that. I sat with that for a long time. Honest style. Someone saw me. Someone who didn't share my last name. Back home, apparently the wedding planning had exploded. Savannah wanted the venue to swap the florals for imported orchids and the venue said no. My mom called me for the first time in 5 weeks, voice brittle and sweet. Savannah's just overwhelmed. You know how she gets. We could really use your help. Maybe you could talk to her? I listened. I didn't interrupt. And when she finished, I simply said, "Tell her I'm not available. I'm booked." Then I hung up. That felt better than any apology they'd never given. I found out about the rehearsal dinner through Instagram. Savannah had tagged the venue in a story: candlelight, violins, champagne towers, the whole Pinterest fever dream. The caption said, "Feeling so blessed. Couldn't have done this without my amazing family." I laughed out loud. Amazing family? They hadn't even asked if I wanted to be in the wedding. Not groomsman. Not usher. Not even a folding chair with my name on it. But then came the kicker. A few days before the actual wedding, I got an invitation. Not the formal kind, not even mail. A text from my mom. "We'd love for you to attend. It would mean a lot to Savannah. Dress code is formal. Ceremony at 4. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a last-minute RSVP to an event that was already half overplanned. And the worst part? It was sent as a group message. With 12 other people. I stared at that text like it was a test. Like they were daring me to be the villain in their perfect little fairy tale. If I showed up, I'd be the afterthought. The fringe sibling. The one who didn't speak up, didn't matter, didn't belong but smiled politely and posed for pictures. If I didn't show up, I'd be the bitter one. The runaway. The selfish brother who couldn't even support his sister. I went to the movies instead. Solo. Matinee showing of a bad rom-com with stale popcorn and a half-broken seat. It was glorious. I turned my phone off. For the entire day. Let them wonder. Let them explain my absence to Nana and the cousins and Savannah's new in-laws. I hope my mom used one of her famous half-truths. Something like, "Mason's working on an exciting new project." Yeah. The project of not being used for set dressing. When I turned my phone back on that night, there were 14 missed calls. 11 from Mom. 2 from Savannah. 1 from Dad. And then a text from my mom that read, "We really hoped you'd come. This was important to your sister." That was it. No apology. Just disappointment, neatly folded and delivered like always. But then came another message. One I didn't expect. From Savannah. Just one sentence. "Do you hate me?" I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know the answer. But because I wasn't sure I wanted to be the one to finally say it. I waited 3 days before replying. Not out of spite, just strategy. I wanted to be sure I wasn't texting out of anger or guilt, or some leftover craving for approval. When I finally responded, I kept it simple. "No, I don't hate you. I just stopped pretending everything was okay." She didn't answer right away. But later that night, another message pinged in. "Can we talk?" Not as siblings. Just as people who grew up in the same house but maybe lived in 2 different worlds. So we met. At a diner halfway between my apartment and her new husband's condo. She wore jeans and no makeup, which was weirdly jarring. The Savannah I remembered wouldn't have left the house without contouring her shadow. We ordered fries and coffee. And for the first time in years, we didn't perform. She started talking before I could even say hi. I didn't know. Not really. I mean, I knew you always got the short end, but I thought you were okay with it. I thought you liked being Loki. Loki? I raised an eyebrow. She winced. Yeah. Like artsy. Mysterious. You didn't want the spotlight. I didn't want to be invisible. I said, calm as a lake but just as cold underneath. That's not the same thing. She nodded, her mouth a tight line. They told me you liked it that way. That you didn't like big things. That you weren't into weddings or celebrations or gifts. I laughed. Out loud. A sharp, bitter thing that made the woman at the next booth glance over. They really said that? Yeah, she admitted. And I believed them. Because it was easier than thinking they were being cruel. That line stayed with me, easier than thinking they were being cruel. It explained everything. Why Savannah never stood up for me. Why she never asked why I got a clearance cake and she got an actual parade. It wasn't malice. It was comfort. She'd chosen to believe the story that painted her as lucky, not favored. That kept her golden without getting her hands dirty. I don't hate you, I said again, this time meaning it more. But I had to get out. I had to build something that didn't come with strings or guilt or silence attached. What are you building? She asked, curious now. I paused, then smiled. A life. One that's mine. No spotlights. No table scraps. She didn't reply. Just looked down at her hands, freshly ringed and trembling slightly. I wondered if she felt like a real person now, or still someone playing the lead in a play she didn't write. As we left, she said softly, "You're not coming back, are you?" "No," I said. "But you're allowed to leave too, you know." She looked at me, eyes wide with something that wasn't quite fear, but definitely wasn't freedom. A week after that diner conversation, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter, handwritten in my mom's looping cursive on floral stationery. It smelled like her perfume. Always something between potpourri and expensive disappointment. It started with, "We didn't realize how much we hurt you." Then a paragraph about how hard parenting is, how they tried their best, how they loved me equally, just differently. I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly fell off the futon. It ended with, "We hope you'll come home soon. Maybe for Sunday dinner?" It was like asking someone who got locked in the basement for 20 years to stop by the main floor for pie. I didn't respond. Not because I was being petty, but because I was done translating their half-apologies into healing. I'd spent my whole life giving them the benefit of the doubt. I was tired of giving them anything. Instead, I put my head down and worked. The music label client referred me to 2 others. Then those 2 referred me to 3 more. Suddenly, I had a real business. Logo design, branding packages, full EP rollouts. I even did the visuals for a TikTok artist who blew up and sent me a $2,000 bonus. Just because your stuff slaps. I cried when I opened the Venmo. Not because of the money, though God I needed it, but because it was the first time someone had seen me and said, "More, please." Jordan and I turned my closet office into an actual studio. He bought me a second-hand Mac tower from a guy he knew and refused to let me pay him back. "Investing in your glow-up," he said. "Just remember me when you're rich and unbearable." By spring, I was making more from design than I ever did at my old day job. I had actual clients, invoices, contracts. I paid off my credit card. I bought a real mattress. I got health insurance. And then, on a rainy Thursday in April, I got an email from someone named Marissa Rothschild, A&R at a major music conglomerate. Subject line: "Let's talk." I thought it was spam. I nearly deleted it. But something told me to open it. Inside: "Your work on the Kindle James project is incredible. I'd love to talk about bringing you on for some in-house projects. Are you free this week for a Zoom?" I stared at it for so long my coffee went cold. I called Jordan, told him, and he screamed so loud I had to put him on speaker just to save my eardrum. "This is it," he shouted. "You're about to become too expensive for me." The Zoom went well. So well, they offered me a retainer gig, steady work, real pay, and something I never thought I'd get from the world that raised me, respect. I signed the contract that weekend. While Savannah posted honeymoon selfies from Capri, I was in my kitchen, eating cold pad thai and whispering, "Holy crap. I think I made it." The first time my parents reached out again, it wasn't about me. It was about them. A voicemail from my dad. "Your mom's not doing great. She misses you? The wedding's over and, well, things feel off. Maybe you could stop by sometime." The guilt in his voice was almost convincing. Almost. I didn't respond. But I did listen to it twice, just to make sure he never actually said sorry. He didn't. He just hinted that my absence was an inconvenience. Like a missing decoration in their curated family aesthetic. Savannah texted a few days later, too. "Mom keeps crying over old photos. Dad's trying. I think you shook something in them." Then, "Also, your work is insane lately. I showed some of your designs to a friend in L.A. They're obsessed. I stared at those two messages for a long time. One tugged at something raw. The other lit a fire in my chest. Respect. Recognition. Not because I was related to someone. Because I built something undeniable. So when I flew to L.A. for a brand meeting with Marissa Rothschild's label, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post about it. I didn't even send Savannah a thanks for the referral. I landed, I pitched, I got the job. And I left with another contract and a hotel keycard I kept just to remind myself it was real. Back home, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door in sweatpants and socks, unshaven, holding a burrito. My mom blinked like I just answered the door naked. We were in the neighborhood. She lied. And we thought we'd check in. My dad held a gift bag. Small. Ribboned. I didn't take it. What is it? I asked, stepping aside but not really letting them in. Just something to say we're proud of you, he said. We saw the article. About the label deal. You're really doing it. I opened the bag. Inside was a card. A real one this time. No gift card. Just a handwritten message in my mom's shaky cursive. We see you now. We're sorry it took so long. That hit. Not in the chest. In the gut. Still, I didn't cry. I didn't fold. I just nodded and said, thanks. They didn't linger. My mom said, let us know if you ever want to come by. No pressure. My dad just nodded like he was afraid words might ruin it. When they left, I sat down at my desk, my real desk, in a real studio, in a life I built brick by brick, and stared at the card for a long time. I didn't forgive them. Not yet. But for the first time, they didn't ask me to. That night, Savannah FaceTimed me. No makeup. Hoodie. Eating cereal from a mug. I told them not to bring the gift bag, she said. But I think they're trying. I looked at her through the screen and smiled, tired but soft. Trying's a start, I said. But I'm not going back. I know, she said. I wouldn't either. 3 months after that doorstep visit, I got an invitation. Not a text. A real, thick paper, calligraphy font, wax-sealed envelope kind of invitation. My parents were hosting a family dinner. No occasion. Just a dinner. The card read, we'd love to have you, no expectations, just us. You're always welcome at our table. I stared at it for a long time. It was the kind of invitation Savannah used to get by default. The kind I used to find out about afterward, when the photos showed up on Facebook. I didn't RSVP. I didn't say yes. But that Saturday, at exactly 6:45 p.m., I parked my used Subaru outside the house I hadn't set foot in for over a year. The porch light was on. The same potted plants. The same doormat that read, family is everything. I used to roll my eyes at that mat. That night, I just stepped over it and rang the bell. My mom answered in slippers and an apron, her hair pulled back in a messy knot that made her look 10 years younger and 20 years more real. You came, she said, like it genuinely surprised her. I didn't hug her. But I stepped inside. The house smelled like rosemary chicken and something baking. The table was set for 5. Savannah and her husband were already there, laughing quietly over wine. My dad came out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of potatoes, and for the first time in my life, he looked unsure. Like he didn't know his role anymore. And maybe that was a good thing. Dinner was awkward in the way first steps always are. We talked about work. Music. My clients. Savannah teased me for forgetting her birthday last month. I hadn't, but I let her have it. My mom asked about my apartment. My dad asked what brand strategy really meant. They were trying. It wasn't polished. It wasn't elegant. But it was human. And then, somewhere between second helpings and dessert, my mom cleared her throat and said, "Can we say something?" I looked up. So did everyone else. "We were wrong," she said simply. "We spent so long looking at the version of family we wanted, we didn't see the one we had. You didn't deserve that." My dad nodded. "We can't fix the past. But we can stop pretending it didn't happen. And we can stop expecting you to show up just because we finally noticed you. I exhaled slowly. My fork clinked against the plate. I didn't have a speech ready. I didn't want one. I just said, "Thank you." That means more than you probably realize. Savannah reached out across the table and squeezed my hand. Her husband, who, by the way, turns out is genuinely a nice guy and not just a golden ticket groom, gave me a quiet nod. Later that night, after we all helped clean up, yes, my dad washed dishes and didn't complain once, I stood outside on the porch with my mom. The air smelled like rain. She looked up at me and asked, "Are we okay?" "We're not broken," I said. "We're just different now." She smiled at that. Different is better than gone. I left with a Tupperware of pie and a heart that felt heavier, but in a good way, like a full backpack after years of carrying nothing but empty space. Back home, I opened the drawer where I keep important things. Contracts. Old sketches. That first client check I never cashed. And I slipped the dinner invitation in there, next to the gas station gift card I still hadn't thrown away. Not because I forgave everything, but because that card started it all. That cheap piece of plastic wasn't a gift. It was a declaration. "This is all you're worth." And my leaving? That was my answer. Watch me prove you wrong. Now, I don't need their approval. I don't wait for their attention. I'm not a supporting character in anyone's story. I'm the writer of my own. So when people ask how I did it, how I walked out with nothing and built a life no one could ignore, I tell them this. Sometimes the best thing your family can give you is the push to become your own. The end.